Good morning. I am 4 minutes earlier today. So, as always, if you're watching in recording, you're welcome to fast forward about 4 minutes or stay with us through our hellos. Since the sound was weird for the past couple of days, I am going to try it on my computer to see if it works. All right. All right. It seems like there is no background. Right. It seems like there is no background. Right. It seems like there is no background. Okay, you probably heard me twice because I was trying it on my computer, but it seems like at least there is no background for me. So hopefully it's the same case for you. I'm gonna ask, of course, when somebody joins. Good morning, Gina. Can you please let me know if the sound is okay today for you or if there's a lot of background noise? Yay! Thank you, Gina. Perfect. I'm glad it worked today. I have no idea what's going on with the sound. Good morning, Sandra. Just in case, please let me know if the sound is good for you. I checked it myself and Gina says it's okay, but I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me fine. Good morning, Jana. Perfect. Thank you, Sandra. All right, it is time for us to start. And today, in the framework of our mindful self compassion practice, we will explore a very interesting and perhaps even controversial topic, the possibility that self criticism actually serves a purpose in our lives. Yesterday, we discussed the importance of radical acceptance, accepting all aspects of ourselves with compassion. But there is always this one part of ourselves, well, usually more, but at least one part of ourselves that we typically don't ever want to accept, which is our inner critic. Self criticism is a big source of pain for us, so naturally we want to get rid of it. And in the past, we even did a practice of shutting up our inner critic, so shutting it out. But what if we could take a different approach? What if we could actually embrace our inner critic, create space to hear it out, acknowledge where it's coming from? After all, criticism in general is not inherently bad. External criticism and self criticism can actually motivate us to improve. but only when and if it is constructive, right? The problem is that most of us have this horribly harsh inner critic that constantly tells us, it's your fault, you're a loser, nobody loves you, you're too fat or you're too thin or whatever it is. Insert your inner critic's voice. And that, of course, makes the whole process less than productive. Unfortunately, it is very rare that our inner critic provides any constructive criticism. But we can certainly train ourselves to find our compassionate voice in the midst of this criticism, the one that can provide critical discernment instead of the usual harsh, unfounded criticism. And critical discernment is an important part of skillful living, an important part of our growth. So, wouldn't that be nice if we could turn to our compassionate voice whenever we hear our inner critic? So, let's see if it is possible through the short practice. Take a comfortable position, and as always, take a few moments to settle in, gently scanning your body, noticing how you're feeling today, physically, emotionally, mentally. Letting your breath be easy, natural, no need to force it. As always, simply observe how your breath moves through your body and how your body moves with the breath. Now close your eyes and think of a behavior that you would like to change. So, something you often beat yourself up about. And please choose a behavior that is actually causing problems in your life, but not extremely, overwhelmingly harmful. And also be sure that this behavior is actually potentially changeable. In other words, don't choose a permanent characteristic like my feet are too big, because obviously you cannot change that. So maybe you eat too much junk food, or don't exercise enough, or constantly procrastinate. Well, whatever it is for you, pick one behavior that is not useful and that you would like to change. Reflect on what problem or what problems this behavior is causing in your life. Reflect on how you typically react to yourself when you are doing this behavior. How does your inner critic express itself? Are there unkind words that are used? Is the tone of voice harsh? Or maybe there is just a sense of coldness or disappointment when you find yourself behaving in this way. How does a critical attitude express itself for you in relation to this behavior? Now take a moment to get in touch with the part of you that feels criticized. Take a moment to notice how it really feels in your body to receive this message. What is the impact on you, on your body? Does your posture change? Does your breath change? Maybe you start feeling something uncomfortable in your belly, in your heart. Whatever it is for you, connect with your direct experience. And give yourself compassion for how hard it is to be the recipient of such harsh treatment. Take a sympathetic moment for yourself. Maybe validate the pain that you're experiencing from this criticism by saying, "This hurts. This is hard." And now turn toward your inner critic with interest and curiosity. So don't shut it out. Don't try to shut it up. Turn toward this voice and reflect for a moment on why this criticism has gone on for so long. Is your inner critic trying to protect you in some way, to keep you safe from danger, or to help you, even if the result has been unproductive? Of course, sometimes self-criticism has no redeeming value whatsoever. So if you cannot find any way that your inner critic is trying to help you, or if you feel your inner critic is the internalized voice of someone who abused you in some way in your life, please just continue to give yourself compassion for how you've suffered from self-criticism in the past. This is a moment of suffering. This is hard. May I be kind to myself in this moment. But if you did identify some way your critic might be trying to keep you safe, see if you can acknowledge its efforts, perhaps even thanking your critic, your inner critic. Let it know that even though it may not be serving you very well now, you see that its intention was good and it was doing its best. And now that your inner or your self-critical voice has been heard, see if you can make some space for another voice, your inner compassionate voice. This aspect of yourself that loves and accepts you unconditionally. It is wise and clear-sighted. It recognizes how the behavior you criticize yourself for is actually creating problems in your life, how it's causing you harm. This inner compassionate part of yourself wants you to change, but for very different reasons. So maybe place your hands on your heart to easier connect with this compassionate side of you. And reflect again on the behavior you're struggling with, but from the point of view of your inner compassionate self. It would like you to try to make a change, but not because you are unacceptable as you are with this behavior, but because it wants the best for you. And find a phrase that captures the essence of your compassionate voice. So, for example, you can say, "I love you and I don't want you to suffer. I deeply care about you and that's why I'd like to help you make a change. I don't want you to keep harming yourself. I'm here to support you." So, whatever it is for you, find this phrase. And if you prefer, you can also bring to mind the image of a person who cares deeply about you, or an ideal image that represents compassion for you. Imagine what this person might say to you right now. Repeat it a few times. And now imagine writing a little letter to yourself in your compassionate voice. Don't think too much, freely and spontaneously, addressing the behavior you would like to change. Just notice what emerges from the deep feeling and wish of your compassionate voice. I love you and I don't want you to suffer. What words do you need to hear to actually make a change? And if you're struggling to find those words, it might be easier to imagine that you're speaking to a dear friend who is struggling with the same issue as you. What would you say to a dear friend so that it's easier for them to make a change? What would you say in a compassionate, loving way? Take a few nice breaths and again settle into your body. What have you learned about your inner critic today? Could you see where it was coming from? Were you able to embrace your inner critic and turn the core of its message from harsh, senseless berating into critical discernment that motivates you to change in a compassionate way? Does compassionate motivation feel different from critical motivation? In what way? At some point today, I invite you to actually take a few minutes and sit down and write this compassionate letter to yourself that we just imagine doing. You can do it in one of the three ways, actually, or you can try them all and see what works best for you. First, you can write from the compassionate self to the struggling self. So you are writing to you from the compassionate part of you to the part that's hurting. The second way is writing from the perspective of a compassionate friend, or maybe even an imaginary friend who is unconditionally wise, loving, and compassionate. So somebody is writing this letter to you in a compassionate voice, to your struggling self. And the third way is to write from the compassionate you as if you're writing to a dear friend who has the same struggles. What would you tell them? So pick a behavior that you constantly berate yourself for and want to change, and that is actually potentially changeable, and go through the same process again, just like we did now, giving space to your inner critic to say what it needs to say, distilling its often hurtful message into some kernels of truth, and turning to your compassionate voice for motivation to change this behavior, not because you are unacceptable the way you are, but because you love yourself. And changing this behavior may potentially make your life a little or a lot better, easier, more enjoyable, more spacious. Have fun with this exercise. And as always, if you want to share, I would be very happy to hear what you have. Thank you so much for being here today. Tomorrow is Amethyst's group healing, and I will see you on Thursday. Have a beautiful day. Bye.